Can you imagine being on a plane with only a single pilot flying? You better be, since it will come sooner than you might think. So how will single pilot operations look like in the foreseeable future? And which planes and airlines could be the first to use them? Let's talk aviation. If you enjoyed this video, remember to like and subscribe. This really helps the channel grow and makes it easier for others to find. Airbus has launched its Connect project, in which it investigates the possibility for single pilot operations on the A350 during the cruise phase of a flight. And they expect it to be used as early as 2025. Normally, on long-haul flights, there will be 3 to 4 pilots on board and they rotate during the flight, so that there are always 2 well-rested pilots behind the controls. In the Airbus proposal, there will be only 2 pilots. During takeoff and landing, both will be in the cockpit, but once the plane reaches cruise altitude, one of the 2 can go rest while the other monitors the plane. There are currently 2 airlines publicly involved in the project as consultants, Cathay Pacific and Lufthansa. However, both seem reluctant to be the first to implement the new procedures in practice anytime soon. Before single pilot operations can be used in practice, there are some serious concerns that need to be addressed. First of all, what happens if the flying pilot becomes incapacitated, either because he falls asleep or worse, so there's a medical condition? To make sure the resting pilot can be called to the cockpit in these cases, the vital signs of the pilot should be monitored in real time, possibly combined with a dead man switch, a button that should be pressed every so often to confirm that the pilot isn't asleep. While the resting pilot wakes up and gets to the cockpit, the aircraft should be able to handle itself fully autonomously. Lufthansa, for example, requires that the plane should be able to fly on its own for at least 15 minutes in any scenario. And up to now, Airbus couldn't yet guarantee that this is the case. One of the situations that the plane is able to handle on its own are cabin depressurizations. These are especially dangerous because of the risk of hypoxia. Once the plane detects the depressurization, the autopilot will have the aircraft descend to a safe altitude without input from the pilots. Another concern is passenger acceptance. After the 737 MAX crashes and the subsequent investigations, passengers have grown increasingly skeptical towards aircraft automation. It will be quite hard to convince the first group of passengers to go on board a plane with only a single flying pilot for the greater part of the flight. One of the more harder issues to tackle is the case of deliberate wrongdoing by one of the pilots. Back in 2015, the co-pilot of Germanwings flight 9525 locked the pilot out of the cockpit and committed suicide by crashing the plane into the French Alps. Despite these valid concerns, regulators seem open to talks with Airbus on how the A350 could be certified for single pilot operations. And during these discussions, even the most trivial scenarios, like a bathroom break for the flying pilot, are on the table. Airbus said that in these cases, air traffic control must be notified and that a special dedicated toilet will be available. For now, it is most likely that we will see single pilot operations in the A350 freighter first, before it will be used on passenger flights. Airbus' main competitor Boeing doesn't have any plans yet to implement single pilot operations on its aircraft. But there is speculation that it might be an option on its new mid-size aircraft. What are your thoughts about single pilot flights? Would you get on board, or would you prefer a flight with 2 pilots present in the cockpit at all times? And how do you think automation in airplanes will evolve? Will we see a fully autonomous plane in the future? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and please consider subscribing to Let's Talk Aviation.